Mallory Martin. How you doing, Mallory?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fine. George,
Yes, what's up?
what's going on?
Not much, player, just chilling.
Hey, let's talk about the people that thought that you were in North Korea. What's up with that?
I had a friend message me, like, when you put that photo up. I had a friend message me back home from, like, New Jersey or somewhere, and he was like, yo, dude, are you really in North Korea? And I was like, no, bro. It's like the Korean guy that I do the podcast with just put it up there. But, yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, the North Korean thing. What about that thing about the South Korean grandmothers? Did you
Yeah,
see
that's
that one?
pretty – that thing I tagged you in, yeah.
Yeah. Explain to Mallory like what you watched. Did you watch the whole thing?
No, I didn't. I need to, though. I think it's an old thing because I think I've watched something like that before. But in South Korea, they have like this like designated area where there's like all these like prostitutes, but they're like old prostitutes, so like 60 years old, like 50, 60 years old. And then like, yeah, I mean, it's not much to explain, but it's just like quite ridiculous. Like,
Well,
could you imagine yourself like just getting done and being like, oh, annyeonghaseyo, and like bartering for like, is it old guys you think that do it, or like you think young guys go, or what?
I think that I think it's mostly old guys. Well, it's like an area in the middle of the city where all old people hang out. Basically, it's like a old people hangout. You know, like high school kids hang out at the mall or whatever. They hang out at this park. So at this park, if you go down to the middle of the city, like downtown, they have like women there. But I don't know if you could tell who they are. It's just like there's a bunch of old people, so it's hard to tell who's who. But I
It's
guess
not
the
like
old people
where-
know.
Right, it's not like the Hatna part. What's like the cool part to go out in Korea and Seoul? What's that one district? I was there.
Oh, Itaewon?
Yeah, Itaewon. It wasn't like Itaewon.
No. This is like where old people hang out. By the time the night comes, you know, old people they gotta go to sleep, so they're gone. So all of these transactions are happening during the day, right? So
weird.
so they're talking. The reason why it's big news is because like the society is, you know how Korean society is. It's like really secretive and
Right.
like everything's like taboo and shit like that. But it kind of shows you like the society is not so great right now
Yeah.
because what's happening with like the older women, they have to
Or
be
even
prostitutes.
like the younger kids like have to like rent hotels, right? Right, like sex hotels or whatever.
Oh, because they live at home.
Yeah, but like imagine, I don't know, like when I lived at home and I was like, I don't know, you just figure out where you want to do it at, right?
Well, I guess growing up in the States, it's different because, you know, your parents might not be home a lot, or, you know, if you have your girl over, she's like your mom or whatever is cool with it or whatever, right? But in
my mom
Korea,
wasn't
they're not
cool.
cool with that shit. Like you're not gonna go take your girl or your man or whatever to the house, and you're just gonna be hanging out in the room. They're gonna be
Yeah,
like, what are you guys doing?
like,
Even if you're like 30 years old.
Yeah, I had like a friend that we would always go to his house because his parents didn't care what we did, like whether it was drink or like whatever, have girls over. But like that wasn't going down at my house. But I could have, if I had a girlfriend or was dating a girl, like I could have her come over to the house and like watch a movie and shit in like our extra room or whatever, like the extra like living room, not like my bedroom. That wouldn't fly, but I mean, you know, still getting down on the low.
Yeah, but in Korea it's different. I don't know why. Like the parents
Yes.
don't accept that or whatever. But
Asian
and that's why
culture
they have those like hotels, which are not even hotels; they're motels.
Yeah.
And
So the kids are renting the motel just to
Yeah,
live there.
and
yeah,
they
it's
have, like,
hourly.
Yeah, it's hourly, and they have themes too. Like,
Are you serious?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
like themes to the rooms.
It's awesome. Like if you go there, you don't want to stay in a hotel. You want to go
Yeah,
stay in a
I
motel.
remember you saying when we were there, you were like, because Joe Ray and Alex were gonna stay. They stayed an extra like night or two,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Yo, you guys should just stay in like the Love Motel. Like it's nice. Like you got a jacuzzi and stuff, and it's like it's
Love Motel.
cheaper than the other ones, right?"
Yeah, way cheaper. Internet's free. Like they have like extra shit. You got like 2 computers in the room. Like
Dang.
it's way more than like when you go to one of those like Radissons or Ramadas
Yeah.
or whatever. So if you ever come to Korea, I recommend you go
Stay at
rent,
a Love Hotel.
stay at a Love Hotel because they got the nice beds, they got the, you know,
You
everything.
should put on a fight promotion, like have a fight promotion, and you could have all the fighters stay at some like Love Hotel. That would be
They
great.
should. You know what I mean? It's way cheaper. I think it's like
with their opponent.
yeah. They got like yeah, it's pretty crazy, but yeah, let's move on from that. Mallory, now I want to know about you, right? You're really young, 23 years old. You're still 23, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're from Colorado, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in Colorado, you were training at Zagano BJJ.
Yeah.
Is that where you started?
Yeah.
Is that the same Zingano as like Kat Zingano and her husband Zingano?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
he's the guy that started that gym. So you're kind of training with
Yeah,
him?
it's his gym. Yeah.
All right. So like, how was it like when you started over there at that gym?
It was good. I started everything all together. So I started the wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai all together
Mm-hmm.
and just picked it up. Yeah. It was a good gym.
How old were you at that time?
When I started, I was 18.
Wow. So it hasn't even really been that long for you.
Yeah, I think almost 5 years or 6, almost.
When did you figure like, okay, I'm gonna do this like full time, like I'm gonna like do everything?
So when I started, I was still a senior in high school, and I was doing basketball and soccer, and then I would train.
Basketball?
Yeah.
Are you good?
Yeah.
She whooped your ass.
Hey, we're definitely
Hoop.
hooping. Did you say I had my J's on last night?
Yeah, that's what I said when I seen you.
Nah, I
It's
forgot.
got the J's on. But so I would do the school practice, and then I would go straight after and do like whatever jiu-jitsu or wrestling or Muay Thai. What was the question? I forgot what you were saying.
When did you figure out like you're gonna put do
Oh,
everything?
Yeah, so like once I finished high school, I like got into colleges, but I knew that I didn't really want to go straight into college, and I knew I wanted to become a professional fighter, so that was like my end goal. And so I basically, once I graduated, I started training full time.
So at 18, you're just full blast. I'm gonna be a fighter.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, right? Like, how do you tell your, like even like a guy telling his family like, hey, I'm gonna be a full-time fighter is kind of big news to tell your parents. But like, how did you tell your parents like, hey, I'm gonna be doing this?
We were like watching. We were at Chili's watching UFC fights, and it was like me, my stepmom, and my dad. And I was like, I want to do that, and my dad's like, yeah, like he always wanted a son, so he was like, yeah. And I was like the only one that was into sports or like did stuff like that with him, and so he's like, yeah, you should. We'll like check it out. And then my stepmom kind of like was like, no, I don't think she should be doing that, whatever. And so they ended up going and seeing a fight, and they actually at the fight, Kat Zingano was fighting. I think I can't remember who she was fighting, but it was like a local show. And after my stepmom saw like the women fight, she was like, okay, like I think Mallory can do this. Like she could like get into it. And my dad's like, if you find the gym, you do it all by yourself, like I'll let you do it, whatever. And so I went to like 3 different gyms, and then went back to Zingano's and signed up.
Well, like talking about Kat Zingano, she's like one of the most violent women fighters to watch, right? So your stepmom watching Kat Zingano is saying like, okay, I'll let you, like it's okay to do this. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? It's kind of unusual to have somebody like that. So were you training with Kat Zingano all the time?
I trained with her, a little bit in the beginning. Yeah.
But did she bounce? Like she left or?
Yeah, she just kind of left the gym.
All right. Now, when did you figure like, okay, I'm training here. Now I'm gonna go to Thailand. Like, how did that all happen?
Well, a friend of mine like told me about the tryouts, and so I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm still like an amateur fighter. I don't know if they'll like even accept me to go try out or whatever. And so I thought about it, and then I finally like did the application or whatever, send in, and then I got the email back, and I was like, whoa, this is dope, you know, like this could change my life. So then I had like a fight scheduled 2 weeks after the tryouts, and so I like messaged, who was the guy? John?
Yes, yeah.
I messaged him asking like about like having my fight scheduled or whatever. So he was like, oh yeah, that's fine, whatever. And ended up going out and doing the tryouts and winning, and then flying back and fighting 2 weeks later and winning that too. So
Was that an amateur bout?
yeah.
Okay. So your first pro bout was in China.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that one because I saw the video, like a little documentary video that Alex made with you and him, like when you guys went to your first fight, and you were very emotional after you won because actually your debut was against a very good opponent. You know, a rising prospect in China. Like, why were you so emotional after?
Just because I don't know, I always get so emotional after fights. If I win, if I lose, it's just like all that hard work that I put into the fight, like it just all comes out. Like now I'm able to cry. Like I hold all back my tears throughout the whole camp, you know, like or whatever, and then I let it out after the fight. It's just, I don't know, it's something that I always do. Alex asked the same thing. He's like, are you always that emotional after? I'm like, I cry after every single fight. Like every win, I've always cried after. I don't know. It's just like all the hard work put into action. Or
I don't even think she wasn't even gonna like turn professional, right?
Yeah,
she
no.
was still gonna do like amateur fights, and like we were kind of like, hey, like you're what were you like 6-1 or 7-1?
Yeah, 7-1.
I was like, you know, you have a lot of fights already. It's time, like you're good, like because we all believe in her, like 100%. You know, like all the coaching staff. We like obviously we were like wowed when she was trying out, but then like once she made it and like you know we got to know her a bit and like train with her a lot, it was kind of like we think you should turn pro, like take your next fight in professional. Like there's no point in still fighting amateur. So
yeah, but I didn't think it was gonna be like 6 days notice. That was still dope.
It was such short notice, you know. I don't remember where I was or why I didn't go.
You were in Korea with Bruno.
And so Dad? I was with Bruno in Korea, but like it was just like short notice and hey, you got to fight, take it, you know, like but she did an awesome job.
6 days notice?
Yeah, in a weight class up.
Damn.
Yeah, in flyweight, right?
Yeah.
Okay. After you won that fight, did you think that, hey, maybe I should stay at flyweight, or were you always, bent on?
No, because I was a little chubby, like around that time, and so like, and I wasn't like, I mean, I was supposed to have a Muay Thai fight the day before the MMA fight, so I had like been training for a fight anyways, but I wasn't having to cut weight, because like Muay Thai you don't have to cut weight, or you don't have to weigh in or anything. So, yeah, no. I mean, the girl, she wasn't even that bigger than me, because I don't think the trainer girls, I don't think they cut weight.
What do you
I don't think so either.
Yeah. What about the Korean girls?
The Korean girls don't cut weight, it seems like.
Yeah, because she looked the exact same as weigh-ins as she did in the cage.
Hey, didn't that girl that she fought the first one, didn't I see her fight in Road FC?
Yeah, she did fight in Road FC.
Yeah.
And she's asked to fight me again, like rematch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is.
Because she's popped off, like, since she's lost to you.
Yeah, I've seen
popped off.
Like,
yeah.
Had like 3 or 4 fights after that. I was like, dang.
Yeah, and she's been like tearing it up too, so it's actually good for you because you beat her. Like whenever you beat somebody, if they go on to do better things, it's like a feather in your cap, right? Like, yeah, I tore this person up, so that's kind of cool. Would you entertain that rematch?
Yeah, I would, because I mean, she was like one of the strongest fighters I fought. Like not strongest like physically, but like her leg kicks were nasty. Like I've never been kicked that hard in my life. And I feel like I could have done a little bit better on like blocking the kicks and everything, but I still like took her down, and it obviously was like a weight class above, and had like one submission attempt, and I don't know. I feel like nobody sees that fight because it's not up, but it's one of my best like performances that I've had.
Yeah, it's hard to go
it's
into.
not on the internet.
Yeah, it's
on,
hard
I
to
have
go
it, like, on my
into.
phone.
It's hard to go into China and win. Like everybody knows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially against a fighter like her, because she was kind of like a popular fighter at that time, and she is a way bigger fighter now. So you must have dominated the fight to where they couldn't actually like slide in a little split decision or whatever, you know, like they'd like to do. So
I think Kunlun's like pretty. It was in Kunlun.
Yeah,
right?
I was in Kumite.
I think they're pretty good about that stuff.
Yeah, I think they treat their fighters good.
Yeah, my first international fight was in Kunlun when I first moved there, and it was against Wu Heotin. You remember him?
Yeah.
Or however you say his name, but he was like at that time, like I think he's in the downslide now, but at that time he was like quite a big deal in China. But they gave me the decision as well, and I was like, I remember looking at the ref Sasan, who's the matchmaker and the ref for Kunlun, and I was like, you guys are gonna fuck me, aren't you? And I literally said that, and he's like, what? Because he doesn't speak good English. He's like Iranian or something. I was like, you're gonna fuck me, aren't you? He's like, what are you talking about? And then like they like made the decision and like raised my hand, and I just kind of started laughing. Yeah. Because you just see there's so many like horror stories.
Yeah, and this girl that fought, she is from like Russia or something like that, or Poland, and she fights she used to be like a part of American Top Team. And she like took me to the place she got her hair braided, and she was like walking, we were talking or whatever. She's like, yeah, you have to finish her. You have to get the submission or the knockout, or they're not going to give it to you no matter what. And I was just like, okay, you know, like kind of sliding it off.
Cheers for the confidence.
Yeah, but
cheers for the confidence. For real, but you know, like everybody says that nowadays, but it seems like, I guess, that more and more foreigners are going into China. They're kind of being a little bit more, I guess, fair to them when they fight. And when it does go to the judges, they don't, you know, make it so obvious. But, you know, even the UFC and like...
Well, it would be really obvious because they match you. Like when I fought, it was like all foreigners against China. So if all China won, like every single decision, like people are going to start questioning it.
Yeah, but the thing, like you said, is like it's hard for people to even watch the fights.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you don't have like a stream or something like that.
Yeah, but I think they're starting to stream pretty soon with Kunlun on their site. So
yeah,
it's really
I think
big in like Asia, right?
Yeah,
because when I fought, they were like telling us like before they're like, oh, 2.3 million people are gonna watch this, and Alex was like, why would they tell their fighters that, like, to like freak them out, like. I don't know.
I can see Alex.
Yeah, he's like, why would they say that?
It's crazy. Like, cause someone recently like told me that like when I was in China,
George, like when you speak, kind of speak towards the mic.
My fault.
Yeah.
It like someone just told me like about Kunlun recently that they didn't or they're not doing well or something like that, and I thought I was under the impression that they were doing great, you know. Who knows?
Really? They're not doing well? Because they just did some partnership with Australian Fighting Championship.
Yeah, no. I think they're doing good. I think this guy was just a hater because he was from another organization.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't believe a person that works for one organization talk about another organization.
Yeah.
That's kind of
like another small organization in China, but like it was just like he was telling me like they were part of the government and stuff, like that organization was part of the government and stuff. So,
well, they were talking about Rebel, right? And in Rebel, they like at Rebel something like 3-point-something million people watch Rebel, and Rebel is like way smaller organization than Kunlun. So 2.3, I don't think that's that big because it's China. There's like a gazillion people there, like someone just might be flipping through the channel and watch it. Who knows, right? So yeah, like I don't even think like because Road FC gets like if I'm not mistaken 20 million in China.
20 million views?
Yeah, 20 million views like average in China.
Oh, that's why Road FC has that big sponsor, Xiaomi or whatever that.
Yeah.
XI.
Xiaomi or I don't know how to say that shit. But yeah, it's like some X's and Z's and Y's and shit like that, right? But now after that win, did you get signed to Invicta or were you already signed to Invicta?
I think yeah, I got signed. I knew that the Invicta contract was like coming through,
Mm-hmm.
but it was after that fight that I had got signed.
So that fight kind of helped you kind of like push yourself into that.
I don't know. Actually, I can't remember. I might have been
I
signed.
think it was already.
I think I was signed with Invicta.
Okay.
I think
So Invicta's cool about letting you fight
Yeah, 'cause
for
it's
other organizations.
non-exclusive.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm able to fight outside the organ. I just can't fight 90 days before a scheduled bout for them.
Okay. Now your first fight at Invicta FC 22 is considered like one of the fights of the year.
Yeah.
Could you tell me about your performance, like, going into the fight, during the fight? Like, how did you feel?
I don't know. Whenever I fight, I always get like intuition thoughts, and I knew like that fight was gonna be the fight of the night. Like I knew it was gonna be like a really good fight, like a war. But yeah, the first round I came out kind of slow. I got caught. The second round, I think I won it. And then the third round, it could have been either way. I messed up. Like I let her take my back, but I got out of it. And I don't know. I felt like I did enough to win it.
so do I.
And looking back, like I finally rewatched it, like I don't know, a couple weeks ago before my last fight, and I don't know. I felt like I won it. But either way, I still like I came out with a win because I learned so much from that fight and like how far I could push myself that it was a good experience, win or lose. So
Of
You
course.
always think something great about yourself. Like that's for me. Fighting is like you always like learn something about yourself.
yeah,
Because it's like sometimes I've been in fights where I remember like when I fought in China for Kunlun, I was like smoking like hookah and drinking beers like a week before that, and I like took it on short notice. Like I was in Patong just like partying it up, and I literally remember in the third round just being like, God, I wish either I knocked him out or he knocks me out so I can get out of here. But like obviously you just keep going and like doing the best that you can, and like thankfully like I won, but I was just so tired like because it was a short notice fight, and like I was training but not like fight shape training. It was like a hard fight because I took it up a weight class as well. But yeah, but you definitely like I remember after the fight being like, hell, like I took that on a week's notice up a weight class, and that guy's like bigger than me. Like, I can keep pushing.
Mallory, when you like usually fighters like from America, they're like based in America and then they have to fly to Asia or whatever. You're kind of like the opposite. You and George and whoever is training over there with you guys, you have to fly back to the States to fight. So it's kind of a weird situation, isn't it? Like it's reversed compared to what everybody else is complaining about. So how does it feel like flying over there? Is it really rough on you or?
No, I think I've done it like
A lot.
5 times already.
Yeah.
So, or like about 5 times. So I
How
feel
long
like
does it
I'm
usually
fine.
take you, like to get used to it, like the time?
Yeah. So going there, you don't really get like jet lag or anything. It's when you come back to Thailand that it like messes you up.
Because the time is forward.
Yeah, no. So in Thailand, we're ahead like about 13 hours.
Yeah.
And so whenever I come back, I'm like out for a day, like sleeping a whole day.
Yeah. When she got here like a couple weeks ago, she literally like her Facebook, because I needed a messenger about something, and her Facebook was like has not been active for like 9 hours or something like that, and it was like 5:00 in the afternoon.
It's weird. Like in social networking, you could kind of like figure out if someone's like around or not.
Or,
They're
like,
not around.
Do you guys have Snapchat?
Yeah, I have it.
Did you know on Snapchat you can zoom out and see where everyone's at? All your friends are?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's creepy. Like I got in a fight with this person and then they were like, "Oh, we know where you were at. Like you and your friends are on Snapchat." And
That
I was like,
is
what do
so
you mean
creepy.
we're on Snapchat? And they're like, oh, we could see where you're at.
Oh crap!
So like it's not loading, but it'll load and it'll show like
Where all your friends are?
yeah.
That's insane.
Oh, that's
I
weird,
don't know
man.
who that person
Oh my
is.
god.
Oh,
Emilio.
yeah. So that he's on my Snapchat, but if I like scroll over, if it loads to like America,
insane.
it'll show where all my friends are at. And
Oh,
so
even
I
in
like,
the States?
but yeah. You
got Snapchat, bitches. We know.
But you could go on ghost mode. So like I straight up went on ghost mode after that. I was like, that's just creepy.
Yeah, that would be fucked up if you like open up the Snapchat, you're like looking around and then there's like a dot behind your house and shit. It's like somebody you know is right
Or
there.
like if people try to stalk you, like they know where you're at all the time.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
Or like, I don't know. It's just creepy. Like I add people on Snapchat that I don't even know.
Yeah.
And then they could just like stalk me and find me. Like
I've
that's
never used Snapchat because I don't know like what
I
it's
used
about.
to use it.
Isn't
I
it
saw-
like Google Story? Isn't it like Instagram Story? Isn't that the
Yeah.
same?
yeah.
But for me, like I just rather use Instagram. But I remember
Yeah.
like the first time I ever saw, I was already graduated from college, and my brother Frank, him and his teammates just used to do the most ridiculous stuff on Snapchat. It was insane. But yeah, I don't use
Well,
it any. Like
I
I
think
use it.
you follow the right people.
Yeah, I use it to message. I think more than anything now.
Yeah, but I think like
But
like
that's weird too
WhatsApp?
because the messages disappear too.
Oh, really?
I didn't
Yeah.
know that either.
Yeah.
Not like
So if you message someone, like it's gone.
like one of my boys in the States. That's I don't know why, but like me and Derek, we only message on Instagram, or I meant on Snapchat.
But if you like press on the message, then it'll save.
Well, there's too many things going on. Too many like applications, and this person only uses this and this person only uses that. It's like just
That's
too much
insane.
shit. You know, like even like having Facebook and Instagram is a lot of work if you're like on it, you know, like
Yeah.
doing things, right? So I don't know. Snapchat, I've never seen it, but like she just put us on game. That's fucking stalker chat. That's what it's called.
Sure, sure.
You want to get the stalkers chatting with you. Now, after that crazy fight, right, in early this year, then you had your second fight in Invicta 24. Now that
Yeah.
one was probably one of your craziest experiences as a fighter, because
Yeah.
you couldn't fight because the couple days before, or was it a couple days before, or was it the day before?
So like when I landed in Kansas City, my arm was just swollen. And so like that Wednesday when George landed, we went to the emergency room like an hour after you landed
Yeah.
to
like,
get on antibiotics. And the lady, she's like, yeah, you just have cellulitis. It'll like be gone by Friday. But if the swelling gets worse, then definitely come back.
but she was like confident that it was gonna
Yeah,
go away.
like for sure. Like I had no like doubt that I wasn't gonna be able to fight. I was like, all right, cool. Like this antibiotic's gonna kick in and my swelling's gonna go away and like the fight's gonna be good. But
Can you describe like when your arm was swollen, right? And like was it like crazy pain, or how did you really feel before you went to the hospital?
no, it
It
wasn't any painful. It was just
wasn't bad
swollen.
then.
Yeah.
It was the next day,
It
the
was
day
the
before
next-
weigh-ins. Like
No, not even then. Now that like thinking back on it, you remember when we went to that gym and you were holding pads?
yeah,
for
that
me?
was the night before weigh-ins.
Oh yeah, okay. And
So-
that time you hit it, I
Yes,
think
that's
that's
what I
what
was thinking,
happened.
yeah.
After you hit it, it like just swelled up.
Oh, cheers for
Yeah.
making me think it's me.
He activated it.
I think he activated it.
No, like when I held pads for it and I did hit it, and she was like, "Oh, that kind of hurt." Like
It like stings.
you could
Like
definitely tell like it
yeah.
bothered her, but like we thought nothing of at that point. Like as our coach, I was like, "Look, if it doesn't hurt," because she was telling me there was no pain. It was like swollen a little bit, but there was no pain. You know, like I was gonna let her fight, and then the next morning, I remember like because we had like 2 beds and it was like a big suite, and I remember like turning over and hearing like ting ting, like the scale go off, and I was like, "What's your weight?" And then she told me, I don't remember what it was, And she was like, but I could tell right away when she told me her weight, like something was wrong. Her voice was like cracking up. And like, then she told me like she hadn't slept all night and her arm was like, she was like in tears. And her arm, like when I looked at it, was freaking huge. And I
It was like 3 times the size.
yeah, like just overnight from the time we hit pads, it was like a little swollen to that point the next morning.
It was like from my shoulder to my hand.
Big. And,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shoulder to your hand?
Yeah, like my hand
the whole
was
entire
massive.
arm, bro, was like
I couldn't make a fist.
A Michelin arm. She couldn't make a fist, and I just immediately like saw it, and I was just like, yeah, you're not fighting.
Oh yeah, that's so after they gave you the antibiotics and the like how did they cleaned it out, right? Like they cleaned it out. Like how was that experience of them cleaning? Have you ever had that happen to you before?
Yeah, but this one was like different.
Oh,
I didn't even watch it
videoed it.
because
It
they
was
like
disgusting.
numbed it, and I didn't watch it because I was like so grossed out already.
It's disgusting, bro.
It's-
Yeah, it was crazy. The thing is, you know, like you said that all the training that you do and preparations, and then once the fight's over, you're very emotional. How did this feel though? Like you didn't even get to fight. You did training, you did
I felt
everything.
like I lost too. Like I don't know. I feel like I've lost 3 times in a row now. But yeah.
How long did it take you to recover fully from that injury?
About 2 weeks. Like, because I was in the hospital for 4 days on that antibiotic, like IV, and then they had like packed it or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then they said like after a day you can take the packing out or whatever, and so I did, and then after like about a week and a half it started to like kind of close or whatever, and by like 2 weeks it was pretty much like just a scab. But
So
it
you're
was
back to
freaking-
training?
It was like a hole, so like I would move my wrist and I could feel the muscle inside the hole. It was crazy.
Gross.
It's like it reminds me of that Kevin Randleman picture where he had it like on the rib cage or whatever
Yes.
from the
Ugh.
staff. He had a hole in his rib cage or whatever. Yeah, that's just crazy.
Oh, did you see Dan Hooker's leg?
Yes, that was gross too.
That was
That staff too?
I think so, wasn't it?
I think. I'm not positive. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I don't remember. But you fought 2 months later though. Like you got back on it and you're like, hey, I'm gonna fight. So I'm in
Yeah,
the
because
States. You didn't go back to Thailand. You just stayed in the States, correct?
yeah, because I was supposed to come back like 2 weeks later
Mhm.
after that fight. So I went back to Colorado and I was still like running, eating clean or whatever. I didn't like gain any weight. And then I went,
Case now.
yeah, I went back to training like once it was like kind of closed where it wasn't gonna get infected or anymore. And then I got a call from my manager saying like, oh, I have a fight for you in Denver. And so I was like, yeah. And then we just rescheduled the flight back to Thailand to like 2 months later or whatever
Mhm.
after the fight.
But then this one was not like a clean, you know, fight either. It's just like you go there
Yeah.
and your opponent misses weight.
Yeah, so like I don't know, it really made me mad because like I guess she started the cut at like 131 and she got down to 123.
Yeah, but that's not even.
But I was like, if you wake up at 131 and you know you're not gonna make 115, like call me, like call my manager. I didn't have to cut that weight,
Right.
and they didn't tell us till 30 minutes before the weigh-ins that she wasn't gonna make it.
That's insane.
And they didn't tell us by how much. And I was like, all right, like thinking like 2 or 3 pounds, like, okay, that's fine. Like no biggie.
3 kilos.
And it was like 8 pounds. And it looked like
4 kilos.
her coaches were like, oh, she changed her nutritionist, like her diet's all messed up. And I was like, no, she didn't even try. Like 8 pounds.
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, this just sounds like they're just trying to make excuses. Like, who gives a fuck if you change your nutritionist? You know?
Yeah, and I seen a picture of her like that Tuesday, and I was like showing the guys at the gym, like, yo, I know what I look like at 130, like rocking around 135. Like, she's definitely not making 115. And they're like, yeah, I don't think so.
But you took the fight anyways. You know, like that is a prime example of like why I think that there should be more catchweight fights. You know what I mean? Like if you're not gonna make the weight, like you said, you should have told. She should have came and like called you or told you guys like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make the weight. Like, why have your?
I mean, like I started the week of the fight. Like I started the water load or whatever. I was like 126 or something.
Mhm.
And then I woke up the day of weigh-ins at 118. So I cut like 3 pounds, just did the like a bath, but still like, I didn't have to do any of that. I could have chilled at 125, all week, and came in fresh or whatever. But it's all good.
Yeah, that the catch weights, man. They gotta have catch weight fights, or like you said, 125. Let you fight at flyweight. You know what I mean? Like. What's wrong with people?
You know that you're not going to make that weight, like just start fighting a weight class up.
Yeah,
like if it's too hard for you to make 115.
To me, that just sounds like
for a diet, like
it just sounds like you should be a different weight class. Like that's ridiculous. But shout out to Mal for being a G and still not caring.
Do you think it's harder for women to cut weight compared to men? Is that true?
Yeah, because you have to like play with like your period, like you hold a ton of water when you're like, or before, if you like are about to start, you get bloated.
Yeah, she's been saying the other day, I was like, Jesus, look at you. And she's like, I'm bloated. And Brad was like, you mean fat or something like that? Like, but bloated has been being tossed around a lot recently. She's not bloated anymore, but she was bloated last week.
Yeah.
How does it feel like when you go to training camp, right? Or when you go to, your gym? It's mostly guys. So like when you're in an environment with mostly guys and guys that talk shit, all the time, like do you get used to that? Like, or do you have to just be like, hey, I gotta fire back?
All my friends, even like in high school, were all guys. Like I have 3 girls that are like my best friends. But they're like me too, like they're not catty, they're not like into drama, like I don't know.
We say like the most like because there's like 3 or 4 of us that are like her coach, but like she's like a little sister. It's like we're a coach, but it's more like having a little sister, but a little sister that just hears everything. Because I don't think they hold back in front of her, that's for sure.
Or just fart on me all the time.
Just like ridiculous stuff.
That's funny shit.
Just really ridiculous.
Farting on her? What? Like, come on.
That's not me, but some other people like this. But like, it's like having a little sister that is like, she knows the goss, like she knows what's going on. She hears us say like ridiculous stuff when like girls walk past, or like, or like people I don't know. She's got good banter. Like she's like one of the guys, All
right. Well, like at Tiger, you guys are starting to bring in, I guess, more like women for the team.
Yeah.
Compared to like when you first started, Mallory, how many women were on the team?
None.
I don't think any. I mean, we really only have like 3 girls now, but there's like girls come and go. Like the Korean girl, she was here for like a month, training. So it's good to have someone like her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, again, this is Thailand, so it's hard for for people to stay like long term, whether it's money or visas and stuff like that. And everyone's on like a different sponsorship package. However, now like I think we have 3 girls consistently training, correct? Yeah, 3 girls. So it's good. Because it's as tough as like she is, because she's definitely like the toughest girl that we have. It's still like, in my opinion, they need to train with girls as well. Like, we have 4 girls, including Rika. But like, Rika's like so small and like fragile.
Yeah.
And like,
and
even
still like beginner.
Yeah, even for her, like, it's Rika's like, she's good, but she's smaller than Mallory. So it's she needs to train with girls around her size occasionally, or a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. But like it doesn't. If she's training with guys all the time, you know, it's like it's different.
So, like Mallory, how does it feel to have more women in the camp with you now? Because you said you like when you first started, there was nobody that was like a permanent member of the team.
Yeah, and it's hard to like assess yourself. Like, you know how if you like go with someone you're like who they might be better than you and you do really well. That's hard to assess against guys because you don't know if they're holding back. You don't know if they're like going their 100 or whatever, you know? So it's hard. But if you go with someone like my size that's a female and I can do really well, then I can assess myself against them.
How about having the Shevchenko sisters?
Yeah, so just like that, like being able to spar with them and roll with them, like was good to like assess myself. Like, oh, okay, like they're at the top level of their game, and I know where I'm at compared to them. Like, yeah, kind of like level.
Well, that's I think, in my opinion, cool to have.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to assess yourself for sure because you know where you're at, and it can definitely be a confidence booster if you're doing well with those people. But I think just like. And I didn't even think about that because, you know, they've been gone for the last month because Valentina was, like, doing tour stuff and whatnot for her fight. But it's awesome that, you know, she, you know, because before, like, when she was rolling with her and stuff, I think I remember saying, like, to her one time, oh, it's pretty cool that you can roll with someone who's, like, getting ready to fight for the title and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. How does that feel? It must be very important for you to have someone like that because there's a lot of people that just train with they're just the best person in their camp, but you have people coming in and out that are like, you know, above a level above you, a level below you. Some of them are at the same level as you, but having someone, you know, like Valentina and her sister, what does that do to your confidence?
It was cool. Like, they're so humble, but they're so good. Like, they're so good.
Yeah, they're so good. They are.
Yeah.
But didn't Antonina just fight MMA?
Yeah, she just fought in Phoenix.
Phoenix, right?
Yeah, in England. And so, like, Valentina had left. I think it was around, like, UFC Singapore. I'm pretty sure. But that she had left right before that. So she left, and Antonina stayed back for a while and was still training. And she did, like, she was coming to MMA classes.
Yeah, I got to do my whole camp for that Invicta fight with her.
Yeah, she did. So she trained with her all the time. And most of the time, like, Valentina, when she's here, you know, they do the class sometimes. They do jiu-jitsu and they do, like, the MMA class sometimes. But they do a lot of their own training with Pavel, which is, like, understandable. You know, the guy's been their coach for forever. So, but it was, like, because I remember, like, distinctly, like, thinking to myself, like, oh, Antonina is, like, coming every single day at 4 o'clock to train with the pros, and she's doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that because her sister had left. But it was – and she, like, asked a lot of questions, and then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, oh, maybe she's going to fight MMA again because, you know, her last fight was in Muay Thai for Phoenix. So, yeah, it was cool to see her fight this past weekend, I believe, or 2 weekends ago, and she smashed. Well, last weekend, yeah. So
now, Mallory? What position are you in now? Like, are you waiting? Do you have a fight coming up, or are you waiting for a call, or do you prefer somebody?
No, I think we're looking at January for the next Invicta card, but maybe try to find something in China before that.
Do you plan on fighting like Muay Thai or anything like that in the meanwhile? Nah. You want to just straight blast MMA?
Well, she straight blasted her only Muay Thai fight.
Yeah.
She had a Muay Thai fight, and she did straight blast some Tiger. Like, the girl was pretty good too.
So it doesn't interest you then?
No. For fighting for like $100, it's not. When you're used to making the money that you do in MMA, you know?
Okay.
So, like the little Tiger I was telling you about, like, Mallory's been helping her. Now I've, like, told Mallory she's, like, crew Mallory now. She's going to be, like, a teacher because she helps her a lot. You know, they train together and she helps her a lot. But like that little girl, when I told her like Loma, like how much money she could make in MMA or like what some people make, she like her face was just like she didn't know what to say. She was like, "What?" Because I think the most she's ever gotten paid was like 20,000 baht or something like that, which is like for a girl like a pretty big purse in Muay Thai, which is like maybe 600 bucks, 700 bucks, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's not a lot. So for her to like, when I was like telling her like how much she could make in different promotions, and like she was like, her just face was like blank. She was like, "What? Really?" So it's the same girl that's like just built her family a house, So yeah.
Well, it's good to have like those types of people around you, because you guys just had Peter Yan. He just won.
Yes.
Yeah, by knockout at ACB 71. He was just down there, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was just here. He did his whole camp here. I spoke to him this morning. Just like sent him a message and like was like, how to show, which means like very good in Russian, and like said like good job. Like he's another guy that's like, I think Peter, the first time that he came to Tiger, he wasn't even a professional yet, or maybe he had like one pro fight. But he's so good. Like I remember the first time he came, no one knew who he was. He didn't know any of us. And I don't even remember like if I talked to him that much, but I remember he was like going really hard and stuff. But now Peter's like the best training partner. Like he doesn't spar hard unless he has to against somebody that's like, got an ego or something. But he's just like, he's improved so much. And I think his like he's always had good boxing, but I think his Muay Thai is like really good now. Like for MMA, like he was throwing like ridiculous kicks. He throws elbows. His sweep, like he didn't really do sweeps this fight, but his last fight was gangster. Like he swept the guy a bunch of times. Like man, he's a guy that's just gets better and better and better. And like for me, sky's the limit for Peter.
Well, he's considered one of the best bantamweights in the world now. Like a lot of people, like a lot of media, they consider him like a guy that the UFC has to get for the bantamweight division.
Yeah.
Like
I think
there's
it's just
no
a matter
doubt.
of time.
Yeah, but if ACB throws that cash, why even go?
Yeah.
Why even go? He's the champ. Like if you're the champ and you're getting cash and the UFC comes with that bullshit, you're not going to sign. You're going to be like, fuck that. I'm going to stay here. I'm the king. Or would you go?
It depends on who you are. Like for me personally, I'm going to go wherever I'm getting the most money. But I'm an old man now.
He ain't no old ass man.
For some young buck, then it's like whoever's, wherever
They might
the
see it
best.
as like, UFC is like where the best is at, so they want to be there.
Oh, but ACB, man, people might not know who a lot of those fighters are, but they're talented. A lot of those guys are like, they could fight in the UFC no problem, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. Now let's talk about some of the like Ronda Rousey. Let's talk about like women's MMA. Do you follow it, or are you just like you just train, and you're just like doing your own thing?
No, I follow it.
You follow, okay? Ronda Rousey taking on Cyborg. Does that interest you?
No.
Why does it not interest you?
R.I.P. Ronda. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Ronda. Why do you think, like, don't you think Ronda, she's tough enough to, like, actually go in there and fight her?
No.
She might not win, but...
She got manhandled by Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Manhandled.
So no chance? What do you think about the coach, like, coming out and saying it?
Stop talking.
Yeah, he should stop.
Like, stop.
It's just, like, embarrassing.
That's ridiculous.
More,
like, if she's ready to, like, put her body on the line, okay, but like, yeah, she's gonna get a lot of money. Like that fight would generate a huge, like,
I think she should come back, but I don't think she should fight Cyborg.
Who should she fight?
Somebody
Maybe,
low.
Someone low, like.
She's exposed.
Maybe do like Kat Zingano again, or what's that? Juliana Pena, or like one of the top 10, but still lower in the rankings.
Yeah, like
I think that both those girls would beat Ronda.
Who?
But I think both of them would beat Ronda.
Yeah, but it would still be a good fight.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
She could still look at it like, oh yeah, I could beat them.
I don't know. I think there's only one
Never know.
fight
She
for
could go
Ronda.
out in the bar or wherever.
Yeah, I think there's only one fight for Ronda if she comes back, and it's not Cyborg because, like you said, it would be like a murder show. I think it's Miesha Tate.
Yeah, everyone was saying that too. Yeah.
I think that's the only one that sounds interesting to me because Miesha Tate's retired. She could come back for one more time, whatever.
Even then, I don't think it would be an exciting fight either.
No, that doesn't interest me.
'Cause they're
Ronda
both-
fighting doesn't interest me.
Yeah, I think they're both done. Like, Misha's retired, and then Ronda is like just doing nothing.
Yeah, just stay retired. Make movies.
Ronda's doing nothing. What about Miesha? Misha's doing everything. You see her everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself kind of like when you see like a lot of these women that have that they kind of paved the way like Miesha, especially Miesha Tate because she's been fighting for a long time and from the beginning, right? And she kind of retired at I think she was only like 31 or 32 years old at the time. I think that's how old she is. Do you see kind of like her and say, okay, like that's that's kind of like a way you can go with your career, for yourself? Do you kind of see some of the good aspects of that with Miesha?
I don't know though, because she's not really doing much either, but like just traveling. I mean, she's like has like the UFC job, but
She works for the UFC.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, she works for the UFC. She does like the analysis, like she's an analyst for the UFC.
But she's not doing anything other than that. Like just travel. I mean, like if I retired, I would travel too, but I feel like I would try to do something else.
I think she's doing something like in the corporate too, from what I read.
Oh, if she's doing something in corporate, then good for her.
Yeah, but like retiring early, what about that?
Yeah. If you can make cheese and retire early,
Yeah.
save your noggin.
Save your noggin.
Save your noggin.
Save your noggin.
What do you think about the 125-pound division, like for the women?
Yeah.
Have you been watching the Tough?
Yeah.
You have been watching it?
Yeah. One of those girls, the second episode, she fought on Kunlun with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Some Russian girl. She lost her fight. It was the second one with like the long curly hair and the
I haven't
coach.
watched any of
Oh,
the
okay.
episodes.
Have you been watching it?
No, I haven't watched it. The thing is, like,
And then I know Barb Hanchak.
mhm.
I think that's her name. I think she'll win it.
Okay, so you kind of have an idea of like who is the
Number
best,
one seed. Yeah.
who is the best fighter in the house. But then you got like all these other fighters that are like moving up or moving down.
Yeah.
I think that, in my opinion, the
think a lot-
125-pound division is going to be the most exciting division.
Yeah, I think so. Like, no, I don't think it'll be the most exciting, but I think it's gonna like skyrocket because I think a lot of the 115ers are gonna move up, and then I think a few of the 135s will move down.
Mhm.
But like, I think the show is gonna think what's gonna happen is like the same thing that happened with the 115 belt. Like the winner of the show is gonna win the belt, and either like Valentina or Joanna are gonna come and take it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
But
how Carla Esparza won the belt and Joanna took
Yeah.
it like next fight. It was her
instantly,
Yeah.
it was like there was a huge gap in, I think, ability between those two fighters, right?
Yeah.
But
Like
they're
a-
both still in the
a
UFC.
bad matchup, but she was the champ, so she had to fight her. So
Yeah, and at that time, a lot of people didn't know who Joanna was.
yeah, exactly. She
You know,
only
they
had
see-
like 2 fights in the UFC.
Yeah. Now it's just like she's considered like one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world, right?
She's a beast.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But then there's that potential of Joanna fighting Valentina at 125.
Guaranteed that.
It's gonna happen
Yeah.
for sure.
I think it'll happen.
I
too.
think the winner of the show will fight. I don't know. Maybe do you think they'll give Valentina like a shot like that quick though?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think so too.
Yeah.
She's a small 135.
Yeah, she weighed in with Amanda at 133.
Yeah, like underweight. Like she doesn't cut weight, you know. But having her at 125
Yeah.
and fighting Joanna.
But I think they'll give it to Joanna first so that she can be a 2-time holder like Connor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joanna will fight Valentina.
That sounds like a good plan.
I think it'll be Joanna first before Valentina.
I could see
though.
that.
But the timing of it is kind of off because, like, the person who will win the show, I think it's maybe December is the finale. I'm not for sure.
Yeah,
And
but
then-
I've read like Joanna wants to, because her next fight will be tied with the amount of defenses with Ronda,
Mhm.
and so she wants one more to like surpass it or whatever. And then she said that she'll go after that 125-pound belt to hold 2 belts.
Oh. But then if that happens, then that actually allows Valentina to kind of get the title shot first. Because Valentina's kind of like in limbo right now. She's just like floating around, basically. So, it's actually a huge opportunity for Valentina, more than Joanna in a way. What about who is a fighter that you want to fight? Like you're interested in fighting this person. Like, hey, this person, you might not be in the same organization, but it would be like a good matchup for you.
She's in the UFC. I don't know her last name, but she's on Team Alpha Male. I think it's like Cynthia
Cavalio.
Yeah. Before she got in the UFC, I remember showing Brad her, and I was like, I want to fight her. Like telling him I want to fight her, and then she got signed like right after that. But I think that would be like a really exciting fight.
Why do you kind of see her as like the most exciting fight? Because she is an exciting fighter.
Yeah, she is, and I think like our styles are kind of the same. Like we can stand and bang, but like her jiu-jitsu is really good too. She's really smooth on the ground, so I think that would be super exciting.
I think she's fighting soon.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
She's fighting Carla Esparza.
Yeah, I think Carla Esparza gets run over by her.
Yeah.
I think that's not going to be a good fight for
I think Carla will just try to shoot
with her slingshot on.
Yeah.
But before I let you guys go, there's like big news in Thailand that Muay Thai is canceled for a month.
Yes.
Did you see this?
Yeah,
of course you guys saw this.
It's like that every year though, right?
No, well, because the king passed away last year, so it's like a 1-year memorial. There's no Muay Thai, there's no fights, no gambling.
Well, because there's no gambling, right?
There's like this gray area. Like apparently, Max Muay Thai is still happening tonight in Pattaya. What's today? The 1st. I heard today, and possibly next week, but there's no gamblers allowed, so there's no gambling. And so there's supposed to be an MMA event next week called Kumite 3000. And apparently that's still maybe going to happen because there's no gambling and it's considered entertainment.
Yeah.
And not like Muay Thai. So I don't know, but I'll know by tomorrow afternoon for sure because we're supposed to have 2 people fighting on it. But yeah, so like when it first happened last year, like there was there's certain days you can't buy alcohol. There's you can't have this. Like we won't have Tiger every month has a party at the end of the month called the Barbecue Beatdown, and there won't be a barbecue because of obviously the king. They said that they're not giving out gambling permits. So since there's no gambling permits, like the major stadiums, the Muay Thai stadiums, they're gonna close because there's no gambling, which means all of them will because like even Lumpini just came out and said this past week that they're closing the stadium for the rest of the month.
What's the other stadium? Ramadan?
So the 2 biggest stadiums in Thailand are Lumpini and Rajadamnern, which are in Bangkok. And then there's a couple other big ones in Bangkok, like Amnoy and Rangsit. But then everywhere in Thailand, there's stadiums left, right, and center.
So like because of the gambling, basically, there's no.
Yeah, the gambling is huge. Yeah.
So there's no sports. There's no point of even going to the fights.
Yeah,
Because I was reading something about like even the fighters, they bet on themselves. So when they fight,
Yeah, it's betting in Thailand is huge,
normal.
especially with fights. Like, you know, like when a fighter fights, maybe he gets paid however many baht, but then there'll be a side bet of like, you know, 300,000 baht or something like that. The two gyms and the fighters, like people put up together, and then
Floyd always bets on himself.
what a ledge.
Everybody should bet on themselves, right? You're fighting, right? You're gonna win, so you gotta bet on yourself. Yeah, that's kind of a trip. So does it like mess up it messes up all the fighters, right? Like, cause they don't get paid, they can't fight.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's like, I mean, that's how we would look at it, but I don't think that, like, man, the king, the last king was like something, you know, like the king's always respected.
Didn't they do it every month for his birthday before?
Yeah, like before the king, every year they have the king's birthday, and there's like a ton of fights, or the queen's birthday, but like, but I don't think the fighters will see it as like they're losing out on money, because man, like when
Like
last year,
thing,
when it happened, like the respect is like people like, it's just like that king was like so important, because you know it just because of how long he was the king, and you know the amount of respect that Thai people hold. Like I don't think any Thai person would think like, oh, I can't fight this month, I don't have money or whatever, like because they understand, you know, what it's for. So
Yeah, it's a different society, right? When you have a king, it's not like Donald Trump. There's no days off for Donald Trump, right? And there's no days off for Kim Jong-un too, right? Yeah, those two guys are like, you know, peas in a pod. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. I actually thank you, Mallory, for coming on. George is always on, so no need to thank him.